I just went through a rough marriage that was started off well, no big issue, but at some point over a period of 18 years was full of violence. I have scars in my body that I was never born with, but I will certainly be buried with. Just as I was always this boss everywhere I've worked, I was the boss. So boss comes with a black eye. You have to go to work. And I'm the one saying, oh, I fell on the stairs, I hurt myself, I slept. And to the world, I'm this okay person. I just slipped and fell. And looking at it, I think people were able to read through me. Only that, Cesar, who will ask you? You're the boss. And many a times, it's a show you're putting. In a way, it also excludes you, because I even stopped going to church. Like for almost, 10 years, I never stepped into any. Even once I went public, and the many, many, many women who now came to me like, hey, even me too. These are high-to-do women, ministers. So everywhere you turn, they'll be happier or appreciate you in a coffin rather than you walking away. And that is the reality. So my name is Betty Adera. I live here in Nairobi. I come from Siaya County. I grew up in Migori County. And I consider myself to be a leadership influencer and coach, especially for fellow women, but most importantly, young upcoming women leaders. I'm a public health specialist with over 24 years hands-on work experience in that field. Apart from that, and most importantly, I am a mother of 2 young men now. Now they're young men. And watching them grow from toddlerhood, to adolescence, and to now fine, young, responsible, adults who are navigating, their way around life, is something that I'm super grateful to God about. I am an author. I will be launching my book soon. And my book is a mentorship book that's titled Influence Without Authority. So it's a mentorship in leadership, book. And the reason I write it in a book is so that I can reach as many, upcoming leaders, not only in Kenya, but in Africa and globally. Apart from that, I am Miss President, Nairobi County. That was a leadership reality TV show whose aim was to spark conversation in Kenya that women in Kenya have the capability to lead up to the highest office in the land. And that is perhaps the show that really revealed me or introduced me, so to speak, to the world. Having grown up in a village with a funny name called Wothogik Village in Migori County as my identity. I'm also founder and president of Betty Adera Foundation, a charitable organization registered here in Kenya, whose main goal is to secure futures of the people we interact with, mainly founded out of my own, experience in violence. And once I healed and went public with my story, the response and turnout was so huge that shocked me. And I realized that as a person, I was not able to effectively, respond to all the needs of women like me, women better than me, women older than me, women younger than me, women more moneyed, more educated than me, who have gone through a form of violence in one way or another. And so the foundation was created to be a safe space for anyone who's hurting along those lines, to just come in and talk. So for us, we just opened the door. That was how our journey, started. And for those who needed like medical care, those who needed, who opted to take the prosecutorial route, those who wanted to be reunited with their families, those who just needed counseling, and all that. And people in my network also came in to volunteer. I have many lawyer friends. I have many counselors, trained, counselors who come in periodically to just, help. And that's how we have grown. And today we are, having interventions and programs, still with the violence thread, but we are reaching, young women, young vulnerable women across this country, who are in farming, who are in small business, who are, facing situations, that need, our intervention. We have programs in girls advocacy. We have programs that engage community members, so that they rethink some of the harmful sociocultural practices to enable girls to just grow, and just be and go to school, get an education, get a life, for yourself, and lift yourself and your children out of poverty. I have won many awards along, this work that we do of empowering communities, and most importantly, individuals in those communities to redefine themselves, to find their ways back home. When I'm called to speak, at events, the person introducing you reads a very nice, rosy bio. It's I'm like, you know what? So let's talk about what's not in that bio. And so I grew up in a fairly large family, monogamous though. My parents were both teachers. My father, late though, was a tutor. He was a teacher of teachers in TTCs, teacher training colleges at that time. And my mom was a primary school teacher. We are 8 siblings. I am number 6 out of 8. I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters. And so in my upbringing, for some strange reason, my parents were like disciplinarian. Do you know what that meant? Disciplinarian. And then we are going to school where your mother is is a teacher there. There was no wiggle room to mess around. But one thing that was profound from what I carry forward to date is that both our parents knew the value of education. We did not have much. We did not. But with whatever they were getting, to date, I will sit and forever say gratefully that they gave all of us the best that they could. Having said that, I believe they instilled in us the discipline of leadership, the discipline of giving and sharing. Just learn to share. When schools closed, we had so many of our cousins, just with us, living with us, growing together. At some point, you couldn't even know, like who's who, and just the art of giving. And so from there, did well in Wotogik village, but it's a beautiful village. I welcome, people to come and visit. Yeah, but it means end of the road. So I grew up in an end of the road, mwisho wa safari type of a village. And I was number 1 in the district. At that time, we had districts, and I was invited to go to Kenya High School. Shock on me. Nairobi, a place you've never been to, a big school, and everyone is like, ooh, Amono, you're just from the village. My hair is shaved. Everyone's hair is like, like that and nice. And, people have this, that, and that. Me, my mother dropped me with a suitcase that had the basics. But it was done with love. That was the best, she could do, for me. And if peer pressure didn't kill me there, I'm tough. Nothing will. And so after that, left high school, just moved to, other things, many degrees. I should graduate with my PhD this year. And looking back at it, when, my father puts me in charge of my siblings who are even older than me, what is that? That is leadership, actually, being molded, right there. They were not mean to me, so to speak, but I was a snitch. I will say that. I will not lie, and just, looking back at it, characters around integrity, characters around resilience, as I already said, characters around being focused, character around, being systematic, methodical in how you're doing your things were molded in me along. I just didn't know I was being molded. And those are foundational elements, in leadership that have shaped me, to this day. I talk a lot. Was I talkative? Hell no. And I believe as my supervisors were also molding me, in my career, part of a big chunk of my work was public speaking. Go and present this paper in a global conference. And you're the one standing on that stage. In fact, they can't even see you because I'm so tiny. This podium is like reaching here. So I have to get out and stand here with my paper. But that paper is also shaking. So it's been a journey. And of course, molding me and encouraging me and putting, effort to it at practicing, in front of a mirror. And then, by and by, you just build it. And part of what my book is all about is actually how to do that. The how. How do you build, this skill? You're intelligent, you know your stuff. It's in your head very nicely. If you're talking to yourself, you're saying the right thing. Put yourself in front of a crowd. You shake, you sweat. And even if you have a written speech, it's an art to read it. You won't just, it's an art. And so I think that was molded, in me over time. Then comes Miss President Show, Kenya, Phase 1, 2018. A bunch of young women I was mentoring came to me and said, Mom, they called me Mom, you have to apply for this thing. I'm like, what? So, when I saw Miss President and it's reality TV, I thought they wanted an actress. I've never acted anything. I'm not an actress at all. So, no, read it. So I never read the thing until the deadline. So they came and just camped in my office here in Nairobi, like, Mom, you have to apply to this thing. Okay, bring it. Now is when I'm looking at it nicely. So women in leadership. Miss President, that's not a bad title. Whatever, let me just apply Muniondoke so that I, get over with it. I was invited, nominated. And this was by Media Focus people. And part of the nomination process to trim was you're called in and you're given a scenario. So you're the president of Kenya and it's Madaraka Day and you're addressing the nation. You have 5 minutes to address the nation. And in front of you are who? Judges who are holding your life like this. And then they tell you, speak in Swahili. Hey, whoa. And you're from Motogik village, where you have to learn Swahili. You're learning another language. Then is when reality is hitting me that, wait a minute, what did I get myself into? Out of 1,000 applications from very capable women across the country, I was among top 70. You can imagine, from 1,000 to 70. And I became a finalist. And so that show was about leadership. So they train you really on what it takes to be a leader at the highest level. So I walked away with big lessons from that show that I apply to date. My articulation of issues, even in my public health space. What is it that you're saying? Say it simply and say it very clearly and say it at the right time. And say it at the right time. So that's one. The art of decision making was a big, element. that we were trained in the academy. And remember, life is about making decisions. Right from the time you wake up, even what time you wake up is a decision, you have to make. And of course, also how to, strengthen just relationships, diplomacy between you and someone else, or your organization, and another. And just the art of networking, as well. When I was growing up, I don't think the word mentorship had already been created. Or if it was, it was it was not like commonplace. And so for many of us in my generation and upwards, we just stumbled on things, There was no session in school where someone comes and they're talking to you about life. You figure it out, okay? But as I grew, got my own children, experienced life, got into the show, created Betty Adera Foundation. When I look back, and from the young people that I interact with every single day, including my own children, I say that, wow, young people today are of a different generation, a different species, that our approach has to be different. And believe me, at Betty Adera Foundation, there are only 3 of my age. Everybody else. And so I consider that a curative space. Come in even if you have never worked anywhere, but you've convinced me that I can believe in you. And you've convinced leadership beyond just me that we can believe in you. And that if we fill you in, if we pump into you, 1 year down the line, you should be a much better person, and then grow. Go somewhere, go to that other bigger place, because then you've already gotten a foundation from us. So that is what I'm calling curative. You're curating. You're kind of like crafting young leadership potential in young people in various fields. Is it ICT? Is it communications? Is it public health program? Is it what? All right. And so I believe that a true leader has to be 360 degrees, inspiration and outlook, so that you don't miss anything. And you need to create a safe space around you, so that even watchman at the gate can approach you. After Miss President, and I became Miss President Nairobi County, I got nominated out of nowhere by the African Youth Forum to be the patron of young women leaders in Africa. Just like that. Then it is when I realized, oh, okay. So then now let me start doing mentorship in a more structured way, and in a more needs-driven way, because you can't all be mentored on the same thing. Everyone just has their own, journey. Everyone is at a certain time, in their leadership journey, and it can't be like one size, fits all. Though there are sessions that can be one size fits all, but you have to move beyond that and just say, for this particular mentee, what really are her mentorship needs. And I also got nominated by the MasterCard Foundation also to mentor a bunch of young upcoming women who were still students in various universities, in Africa. So you get some from Rwanda, Kenya, Congo, wherever, all these places. And they had a structured, way of doing it. And I picked a lot, from there, to curate my own. And so now the need became so great. That is why I now wrote the book. And the book, as I said earlier, is a mentorship tool that just talks about my own journey. What I did to get here, the story, the journey, the bends and the bumps and the potholes, and the smooth roads, as to how I got here. And I keep it real. And again, based on my own, experiences that I believe many can relate with. Yeah, I married young. I told you I have 2 young men. At the time, they were like not even teenagers yet. I just went through a rough marriage that was started off well, no big issue, but at some point over a period of 18 years was full of violence. I have scars in my body that I was never born with, but I will certainly be buried with. And so when it became too much, I almost lost my life. That is when reality hit me that, you have a choice. Stay, die, be buried, and nobody knows what would happen to your children. Or fight. And part of fighting is not like physical fighting, no. It's just being real, to yourself and just saying, you know what? If it's not working, it's not working. If it's not mathing, it's not mathing. And so I walked away with my 2 boys. Life was tough. I think if there's one thing that I'm super grateful to God for, if He asks me that I'm 52 years old, if He asks me that in your 52 years old of being on planet Earth, name one thing you're grateful for, I'll say, God, you gave me 2 wonderful children who, appreciated what was going on, and 2 picked up, their pieces. They could have turned out worse. I mean, in these situations, we see kids, turning out to be God knows what, but they are the most responsible people that I know, human beings that I know about. At my age now, I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't drive, I don't shop. Okay, I bring the money. I bring the money, and I believe that even if God takes me this minute and I'm ready, I think they will do just fine. Yeah, they will do just fine. And so what violence does to anybody is that it takes away your pride. It takes away that self-love. It just rips you, into pieces on the inside. It takes away your sense of confidence. It just takes everything away from you. I think that's just, what I'm saying in many words. And so you have to relearn, to relate with people. You have to relearn to just shed it off. And when you stand in front of people, you're not that woman who was being beaten. You're the CEO of, this, that, and the other. And that doesn't come overnight. You have to work, towards it. I was so bitter for me. This waru here, for many years. I was like, anytime you touch that topic, I would get all emotional and, tears. Until one day I realized that, you know what, Betty, you're public health yourself. And you know what mental health is. I mean, the basics. I'm not a specialist in that field. And you have 2 young men looking at you, looking up to you, to just get by from one day to another. Shape up, dust yourself. Toka, get out of the dust. And God also was in that time. God was with us during that time. And I think for me now, looking back, I think God was just shaping me to toughen me. I'm now tough. Even if you tell me I'm going to kill you today, I'm like, what time? I feared all that there was to be feared. I have nothing more to fear. I cried all that there was to be cried. The only tears I'm left with are tears of joy. I was always this boss. Everywhere I've worked, I was the boss. So boss comes with a black eye. You have to go to work. And I'm the one saying, I fell on the stairs, I hurt myself, I slipped, they were mopping and I slipped, and every time I'm limping. There's always something. And to the world, I'm this okay person. I just slipped and fell. And looking at it, I think people were able to read through me. Only that, Cesar, who will ask you? You're the boss. And in a way, it also excludes you because you then just tend to just do the work and go home. You know, you find yourself excluding yourself. You don't want to go to parties. You don't want to go to office meetings. You don't want to go to anything that I don't have to do. I don't wanna do. I even stopped going to church. Like for almost 10 years, I never stepped into any church because I just want to be by myself. Don't penetrate this space. And yes, many a times it's a show you're putting. It's a show you're putting. Even once I went public, and the many women who now came to me like, hey, even me too. These are high-to-do women, ministers, ministers' wives, pastors' wives, women who's the CEO of this, CEO of that. Like, you mean even you? The way you look so put together. They're on TV, you look so put together and everything looks like it's going on. Oh, hell no. So many women like me find yourself in that situation where, you have to put a show, to the world. And right now is when there's, I can say, professional help. In our time, there was no something like counseling. Who are you going to go to counsel you? But now there is professional. In my time, the counselor was the pastor or pastor's wife or your auntie. But now people can, seek professional help. And that is part of the services that we opened our doors for. But nothing also is as powerful as just creating a safe space where women can just come in and talk. And by the way, we also have men. It's not that it's all rosy for men also. There are also men who are suffering like God knows what in the hands of whoever the women are, in their lives. But there's something as powerful as you come in a space where just talk about it, cry it over, it's okay, and that's the first step, towards healing, because it doesn't mean you go back to where you were hurt if you don't want to. But even if you don't, that trauma, needs to be dealt with, or else it will cause more harm, mentally speaking, than good if left, unattended. And of course, we handle people with the utmost, confidentiality. And it was also therapeutic for me, myself. So like everyone, okay, come, kujeni, we all heal together. But yeah, people have gone through even worse. And of course, people, as human beings, we are created to hope for the best. It has happened once. I don't think it will happen again. It was just a slip of anger, making excuses, for this person. And then it happens again, and it happens again. And by the way, once it has happened once, let me tell you, it will happen second time, third, fourth, fifth, until you lose count. That is just the mechanics, of this thing. Why I took 18 years with all my education? I'm well read. One, we are socialized that once you get married, marriage is until death do us part, So how will society carry me? How will my own family, look at me? So that is one. So you better just die there. And sometimes you find that even when you go back to your own parents, they tell you, oh, just stay, my child. Even your father and me were like this, so you just stay. If you go to church, it's even worse. It is a sin in the Bible. They'll read for you a verse there, till death do us part. So everywhere you turn, they'll be happier or appreciate you in a coffin rather than you walking away. And that is the reality. Secondly, depending on how your family is structured, maybe you already have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 children. So, your children kind of like tie you here because you're like, Sasa, if I walk away, can I walk away with all these children? Okay, if I don't walk away with them, I walk away by myself. What happens to them in my absence? Who will? So you tend to think about this child and you're like, okay, let me just stay. More so if they are boys. The cultural thing that I'm talking about, utaenda wapi, with boy children who are also growing up. What? Okay? Another big issue is around women's economy. And that is where at Betty Adera Foundation we are stuck. That's where we are. That's our focus. Because if a woman has her own money, her choices are expanded. She can decide, to take this path or this one or the other. But if she doesn't have, and she's relying 100% on this person, this male partner, might not even be husband legally, what do you want her to do? So she will stay, she will endure all this violence on herself, she'll endure violence on her own children, and especially if she's in a marriage where she, came with other kids from some other relationship. Because this man is providing the shelter, they have a roof, over their heads, and they have food to eat. And the man may be paying school fees for the children. And she doesn't have any of her own. You see? So these are some of the things that make women, stay. And some just fear the repercussion. I mean, there's a law that protects you. If someone assaults you, you can go prosecutorial route. Oh, but now it also costs money to take someone to court. Eh? You have to spend there. And where is the money? If money is the issue that's making you stay here, in the first place. And then also culturally, how will that fear of how will society think of me? How will, all these things. And in some cultures, it gets even complicated. If it's a marriage and dowry was paid, the other side might come and start demanding, their dowry. It's complex. It's so complex, And what happens between two people in a situation like that just sits within, that context of two people. It's a little tough, to understand it. But where do we come in? Me looking back, what can I do, to others in my situation? Even if your husband is the multi-billionaire of the world, as a woman in that relationship, have your own economy. Have your own money. Go out and do a business. Go out and look for a job. Just have this, even if it is 100 shillings a day. It is the money that is in your name. Have it and just keep it. Just keep it somewhere. A day, hopefully, does not come. But on a rainy day, you might just need it. Each story is just a story, in itself. But for me, one time, I almost died. And when I woke up, not knowing, where am I? Reality hit me. That if I don't take this drastic action now, I will die. And if you die, what happens? You're buried. People cry there 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months. You're forgotten. And I look back at these two young boys that God gave me. I told myself, I will fight. That's why I keep telling people, fight. I fought. And not fighting physically, don't get me wrong. I fought myself to get out. Just walk out. Walking out is an option, at least for me. Why? Because I had a job. I had a way of fending, for my own children. Tough as it was, and just get things going by. But not many women have that choice, right? That's why I'm saying economic empowerment sits cardinal to our interventions in responding and mitigating all forms of gender-based violence. All right? Because when you are empowered economically, your choices are expanded. You can decide, okay, let me work out, but let me go and rent that house there. At least remove myself from that violence, and just continue with your life, as it is. You can ensure even if that economic support tap, is closed, At least your children, with this your small thing you are doing on the side, at least eating the basics, you will not sleep hungry, with your children. Unfortunately, not every woman has that privilege. And that is why they stick. That is why they will just die there. That is why they're killed every other day we see on TV. And it is what it is. Let me put some context here, okay? When you walk out, the stigma is worse. And between walking out and going public, those are 12 years. Yes! I didn't walk out and the following day I'm yapping. 12 years of battling anger, of battling resentment, of fighting with myself. Why me? Asking myself, why me? God, what did I do wrong? Who did I kill? Who did I murder? Why me? Of all these people in the world. 12 years. And even walking out, in itself. So you're by yourself. And you know how society looks at a woman who lives by herself? Oh, that one is loose. That one is sleeping around. How is she able to continue? Like that. You know what? That is it. She's an embarrassment, to the family. She's an embarrassment to our clan. Embarrassment to our community. Women don't walk out. When you walk out is when now you start experiencing a new type of trauma. On top of the trauma. It's worse. Make no mistake. But I said, you know what? As long as I am not dead, I can turn things around for me. It was now I became selfish. For me and my children. If I am dead, I am and buried, I'm useless to anybody, even to my own children. And that is what kept me going. I decided to just block my ears and say, you know what? You want to talk. The day you get tired, go home and sleep. But then I also excluded myself from social events. You won't find me in any wedding. You won't find me in church. You won't find me gathering. Which one? Even family gatherings, I just said, you know what? Just let me be. All right? 12 years of battling with myself, wearing a show, putting on a show, going to work, coming back. But deep down, there's something, you're dealing with. And so how did it even come that now I'm speaking about it? One time I was invited to, I think it was a women's empowerment conference here at KICC. And I was to talk about the power of women to bounce back. Yeah, that was the theme. That was the topic I was given. And my cue, I'm the key speaker. Okay? And so my bio was read. It's lovely. She's this, she's that. She has won this. I took the mic and the Spirit of God just told me, Betty, this is your moment. Let it go. Let it go. 12 years. What are you battling? Didn't you walk away? Yeah. Are you not with your children? Yeah. Then what is it? Let it go. So I started by saying that I had a speech written. Put that one aside. You want me to talk about bouncing back? So now let me tell you my story. Forget all that you have had, read in my bio. Forget that one. That I just didn't just wake up and become that. And then I spoke about the hall. Do you know how big that hall can be? That the main hall, full of people like this. You could even hear a pin drop. So I think people were wondering, hey, this one. We thought, is it? Is she? And so I just kept it real and told them that, look at me. Forget the scars on my body. You won't see them except I strip my clothes in front of you, which I will not do. But you too, in case you're going through any shit in your life, you can bounce back. Allow yourself to be angry. Allow yourself to cry, grieve, get annoyed. Punch kitty like this to remove that, anger in you. But if you can, seek professional help. Don't seek help from anybody. Professional. If it is not professional, talk a hookah. Don't go to your auntie, to your pastor. Talk a hookah. If it is not professional, battle on your own. And so I think my story made the theme land. There's a way that theme landed, Then I realized for the first time, I spoke. My voice did not shake. I did not drop even a tear. I'm like, hey, okay, then even me, I have grown. What is it that has happened? And so after that, after the whole thing, then people just like run and crowd you, and everyone wants your contact. My contact was shared. Hey, by the end of that was like at 10 in the morning. By 6 that day, I stopped receiving calls because I can't deal with it. You're talking about so many. My email was shared. Hey, by the following day, I don't know how many emails I needed to read through, and people are introducing themselves, and it was like everybody. Violence is not a respecter of person at all. At all. That is why I was telling you we had ministers. We had pastors' wives. We had CEO of this, CEO of that. We also had people like in my league. I have to be honest about that. We also had just young women who boyfriend is becoming, I don't know how. Those ones were so many. And everyone wants a piece of me. So we tried. Then nah, this is not working. So let me then just create a formal structured space where people can come in, and if you call, someone will pick. It will not be me, but someone will pick, and we will panga you on how to come in. Then, people in my network just offered, I'm a counselor. Oh, can you please just give me 3 hours of your time every week? Yeah. At some point, I had to tell counselor, it's enough. Now, we've gotten enough. My lawyer friends, very many, who we still have with the foundation to this day, I can do pro bono, I can, and a big chunk of those cases, we also, you come, listen to it, and then decide what you want to do. But again, we're giving the full picture so that whatever pathway you take, you fully know what you're getting into. If you just want counseling and you want someone to reconcile you, sawa, that is your pathway. You want to go to the police, we are telling you the real thing. Then now, by and by, we realize that, hey, now here, what women really need is economic empowerment. Let me tell you, it is not enough to hear somebody is the minister's wife. Minister is the one with the money. The wife has no money. And even if she wants to buy a pen, she wants to buy a sanitary, she has to ask. Let alone Mama Mboga. I'm talking about... So it's when that reality hit me whoa, we need a lot of education on our women, no matter your social skill. I don't know which word to use. I felt a bird in a cage. Then you open the door and the bird just realizes that, oh, there's a world out here that I can just fly. I mean, the sky doesn't belong to anyone and the wings are mine. So that was... That was the feeling, but I felt some relief, a big rock, has just left my chest. I felt the resentment and anger that I had pented up all these years just left me. I felt light. I felt yeah, okay, you were judging me anyway. So even if I say it, what difference? So now, hear it from me. Don't hear it from a rumor. I've said it myself. Hear it from me. If you want to judge, continue judging. I'm used to, being judged. But it was quite a relief. It felt like a relief, so to speak. And for the first time in many years, I felt free. Free now. You just do whatever it is you want to do. This thing, for real, is now here, behind you. Move forward. Even if it's a step in a day, keep moving forward. I was never moving back or, looking, back. Like to this day. To this day, me, I'm moving forward. There's something about if you continue staying where you were at, it doesn't go away. So I moved, changed environment, changed school for my kids, changed everything. Okay? But I still needed to do 12 years regardless. 12 years regardless, because I want to believe part of it was just human nature. Some things that has happened to you for so long, it will not get out of your system, like that overnight. You have to go through that time. And you're right to say that people need to be given time to process their own situation. But they also need to be enabled with resources that they need in that time. And by resources, I mean, if you need professional help, get it in these your 12 years, right? Like I said, in my time, counselors were not quite, it was not quite a thing, but I got help later rather than sooner, okay? And so that would be a time where, as someone is dealing with her situation, just keep those options open. If you want legal advice, remember it's advice, just call this number. I didn't have that. If you want a professional counselor, just call this number. I didn't have that. If you want to just come in and talk and hear how others have experienced worse than you, but it makes you feel a bit better, like, oh, I thought I was the only one. Kumbe, you mean even so and so? You mean even so and so? These high-to-do women we're seeing on TV, on magazines and all this. You mean even that? But then that was also a bit comforting, for me. But this process can't be rushed. And it is different for every person, all right? Depending on your circumstances and what exactly you went through it. But looking back, I'm telling, but why didn't I open up sooner? Because, by the way, at that first time I spoke about it to date, that liberation, I still feel it. And I don't fret anymore. I mean, it was what it was. Everyone has moved on with their, with their lives, and my kids are now grown, and what more can I ask? But it's a process that cannot be rushed, and you're right to say that. But what I also always tell women in those situations is toughen up. Just toughen up. People will talk, and people will say very mean things, about you without even understanding the full story, right? People even close to you, you will lose friends. You will lose even family members. People will judge you even in the church you go to, even in your place of work, even where, So just toughen up and just focus. Have a clear roadmap, understanding fully your situation, because you're the best author of your own situation, but also craft a way out. Life also must go on. Life has to come back to normalcy, or a resemblance, of it, without you putting up a show. Sure, you can put up, yes, but only so much, only for so long. If not addressed, you'll crumble. You will crumble, you'll snap. Even mental health issues, you will have them, high blood pressure, all these things. So seek professional help, and we can link you up with that help if you don't know, like, where to go. But also seek that help sooner. Even when you're still angry and all that sour, but just seek professional help. Will probably help you, get by faster, sooner, heal, compared to if you're just battling things, by yourself. Remember, foundation was founded after I got my wings and flew away. After I breathed, then foundation happened thereafter, not before. All right? Before I couldn't even think. What violence does to you is it takes away your thinking capacity. That's how yeah. And so I'm able to, even to this day, speak very freely, about it. People reach out just because of what they see, what they read, about who we are as an organization and how we were founded. And even if I go to Botokik village, right now, and meet a young woman who is in the program, enrolled and all that, and has gone through, a similar situation, you find that it's so easy to relate, because when you tell your story, I will quickly hear you. But make no mistake, when a big chunk of your youth is taken away, dealing with a situation like that, even if I'm saying I've grown my wings and all that, sometimes I wonder, I'm human. It crosses my mind that what if things were different? How would, my life have turned out? What if? But again, you also look back and say, hey, I'm super grateful to God for that marriage, because then I have these two great young men out of it. You see what I mean? I have a great organization, for young people now to build. In fact, I'm on it only just 1 more year. After that, I move to the board and then just let, the Gen Z have a shot at leadership of an organization like that. We are not big. We are not small either. We are there. But the potential to grow it into something massive is really there. So to date, since that formal, registration, I can estimate that we have reached over 3,000 women and girls with interventions around prevention, mitigation, and response to all forms of gender-based violence. We started here in Nairobi, like the informal urban settlement communities, but we have, scaled our operations to Narok County, to Kwale, to Migori, to Kajiado, and of course, Nairobi itself, and we are counting. And so what do? One, we have programs around return to school for young women, teen mothers, those who got pregnant, no matter the way, whether it was sexual violence or otherwise. And we have a scholarship fund to support them, to go back to school. Again, looking at my own story, if I never went to school, I would not be here. I would not be here, talking about this today. I'd probably be dead, maybe. I don't know. And so education also sits cardinal in the work that we do. We also have programs that are targeted to the pastoralist communities around girls being let to go to school, battling or engaging communities to circumvent, some social-cultural practices such as female genital mutilation or, child marriages, so that a young girl, 10 years old, has a chance to just be a girl, make those silly mistakes that girls do. Enjoy your innocence, enjoy your adolescence, go to school at the right time, of course, get married and, just build your own family. And so we have, those kinds of programs as well. And what we do there is we have community mentors working collaboratively with county government to create safe spaces, like small Betty Adera Foundations, in the community, where young adolescent girls come in and they get mentored, they get educated, on reproductive health and, how to circumvent peer pressure, how to build their self-esteem within that particular, context. And now we have quite a bunch of child widows and working, again, collaboratively with the county government there to now figure out what is it that we do, because You're married off at 10, 12, 13. To who? To an 80-year-old man, 70-year-old man who already has issues. And in 3 to 5 years, this guy dies, and this young woman is left here, still a teenager, still a child, herself, but with children, maybe 1, 2, 3, whatever. And now you're a widow. And so we are trying to better understand like the statistics, around that, even with the county government and local community leadership, to just figure out, okay, this is a new one. What is it that we do? But bottom line, even as Betty, me, the person, for me, going back to school is like my number one, priority. Can we help such, to, you're already a mother, there's nothing we can do about that, but can you be supported to still figure out how to support these children? But you go to school, come back in the evening, go to school, but go to school, keep going. Even if you are taking longer, but go to school. Eventually, if you stay dedicated, you will just, get your education and then see where that takes you. Migori County, for example, we have a program targeting young women, 18 to 35, who are very vulnerable, to poverty. They're young mothers. They have nothing, going on. To some extent, some are even HIV positive and very ill, and not on medication. So it's a whole thing. And what are we doing there is working with them and the county government there to create a girl-led, ICT hub. And so digital enablement is a core mandate, of that particular project. And we're just excited, at how that one is going to go. But even as we speak, we're in the process of supporting them with small funds for business startup, even if it means, starting up a kiosk or, selling vegetables or cereals or eggs or whatever, it is that they want to do. Some are in mining, they want us to support them in mining. I'm like, whoa, thinking big, gold, money. Again, to just answer that question, place money in the hands of our young women, full stop, and give them training on that enables them digitally, so that even on TikTok, she can sell, she can advertise, whatever it is, she's selling, and then just get by. And so what we are challenged with are resources. The need is so great. For example, in Narok, we are talking about 2,000, adolescent girls, 10 to 18, and we're in one ward. And there are more than that. Just one ward in Narok South Sub-County, okay, for example. And we get calls, they get calls from all these other places. Why are you not here? Why only there? Why only there? Even here, even here, even here. And we have proof of concept that this model works. This approach, works. And it is creating this kind of difference in the girls and households that we have touched through our community mentors. So how to expand that model to reach even more, would be great. And even to just scale it, to all these other, communities that need, that kind of a help. In the Migori ICT digital enablement program for young women's economy, I said they were 18 to 35. And we are only able to reach 100 of them. We got applications of up to 5,000. So how are you going to pick 100 out of 5,000 of them? And each and every application, whether we took you or not, is a story that needs to be told. And again, even there, we are talking about only 2 words in a sub-county. We haven't even covered the entire sub-county. This is Suna West, sub-county, for example. And so, yeah, the need is just too great. And these are women in their prime. These are women who are like the adolescent ones. This is the time that if you're to hit school, this is the time, to hit. If you're to get your act together, this is the time. And so, again, this is the time, if it all gets messed up, even if you're 50, you will have, lost something, in you. So this is the prime time that if we are to hit jackpot, so to speak, from an impact perspective, that is the right focus group to prioritize. I really thank you and your team, and look forward to a mutually fulfilling, relationship as we impact lives. And why do I do this? What do I hope to get? So what? What do I hope to get? What is in it? What is in it for me? For me, what I think is in it are just like three things. So one is the feeling of fulfillment that in my case, in my situation, in my circumstances, I can also be a resource to somebody else who needs my help or my attention in one way or another. Secondly, making a positive impact, small as it may be, in the life of another, I believe is a divine calling that every human being has. The extent to which we embrace that is what differs from one person to another. And I take mine seriously. And lastly, and most importantly, I see every young person who reaches out through the eyes of my own two children. I keep saying, what if the coin flipped and I'm not there? And it is my son Stanley or my son Patrick who is asking somebody, for help. How would I feel when they're turned away by someone who, is able to help them? In life, when you have had instances when you've hit rock bottom, when all you've got are two things: God in heaven and the drive to survive, just to see another day. When you've been to that space, the minute you come out of that rock bottom, life hits different. When someone comes to you that they haven't eaten, you relate because you were there. And you don't relate or help because you have. Even when you don't have, just because that person came to you, in their minds, they've come because they feel or think you can help them. So even this little you have, you just find the compassion, to help. And when life hits different, somehow you have time for people, to listen to people's issues and stories. Yeah? When life hits different and somebody comes to you that my child doesn't have school uniform, and school uniform is 1,000 shillings, for example, and you have 1,500, because life has hit you different, you'll feel that compassion because you have been there. And when you reflect on life, that you hit rock bottom not because of anything wrong you did or anything you did wrong, but life just happens. And at the end of the day, Justus, it gives you a good night's sleep. And now good night's sleep is a very rare commodity. And as I was raising my own sons, in this situation, I've learned, and this I can say without even, fretting for a minute, that you feed someone, your own coffers will never go dry, somehow. Even when you don't have a job. You help connect someone to health care or medical bill, even common cold will pass by you. You will hear it in other families. It will never come near you. If you help educate someone's child, not because you have excess, but out of compassion, your own children will never lack school fees. Even if you don't have a job, somehow, God or universe or I don't know, some other invisible force just makes it happen. And your own children will be good, in the head, and they'll actually go to school. Because there are many families also where money is not the problem, but children just, refuse to go to school. And so these are just personal experiences and stories that actually need to be told. And I am where I am not because I have. Actually, I wish I could get. I wish I could. I could get. But to me, when I look back, like this, I tell myself, whoa, God, I believe there's a divine calling, in all of this. You don't have to be a preacher on a pulpit, to touch lives. One time I was traveling out of the country, and for starters, I'm late to go to the airport because I read my ticket wrong for the first time. These flights that leave like at 1 in the morning. So you don't know whether is that one Tuesday or is that one Wednesday. So there's just something that it just, messed up my head. And so it is 7 in the night. And my son is telling me, Mom, were you not traveling today? I'm like, nah, see, it's tomorrow. Okay, fine. We are doing dinner, nothing. Then my sister calls me. Hey, were you not traveling today? I'm like, no, it's tomorrow. Then something just hit me. This tomorrow is when? And how can two people, who are not in the same space? So I bring out the ticket. I look at it nicely and I'm like, oh my goodness. I have like 1 hour to get myself to the airport. Luckily, I'm this type who packs, early, 2 days in advance. If it's a long trip, I'm going, But now it was quite a rush. You can imagine in this rush, and my car is not there. My son took it to the garage for service. Not that that's wrong, but like, this is the time I need my car right here. So you have to Uber, So in this whole drama, a phone rings. You look at it like, you know what? This is not even a number. I know, so let it just sit there. But something told me, wait, pick it. And when I picked it, it's a young lady who introduced herself very well. And apparently she knows me. And she was on the brink of committing suicide. And even her, something just told her, make this one call before you, take this decision. I'm like, wait. I was just sitting the whole day. Couldn't you call at 9 in the morning? So I just told her, lady, unfortunately, I don't have much time. And from where I'm going, I will not even be available. But just think for a minute. There's a reason you called me. It means in you, there's a small percentage of you that still says there's value in fighting. So fight. You fight. Whatever this is, you fight. Don't take that drastic action yet. Fight. And just see if things will change. And I prayed for her. And that was it. I had to run. And I even forgot to save that number. So I went. I came back a month later. And then one day, I received a call. So I pick. When I have time, I pick calls. Hey, it was that lady. Do you remember? Oh, it's you. Okay, so I'm telling myself, oh, so you didn't do it. Which is, God, thank you. So apparently, just that I told her to fight, she picked up herself and fought. Whatever, that was. And she got back onto her feet. And she got unemployment in a local hotel, restaurant. She was making tea. And to her, that was like, heaven, came down. And so when you hear that, I'm like, oh, just that conversation of less than a minute. And I didn't give it, my me, because I was also in a situation. And when you hear that, when you go to sleep, you're like, you know what? Sleep just comes and you're like, that's a successful day. God be with you. You continue doing whatever it is you're doing, on to the next one. And so I think it is just in us as human beings to have compassion, for others. How that plays out is what is different, from person to person, circumstance to circumstance. But for me, I have been there. I have done that. I have seen that. And so I relate very well with situations like those. To the extent that I can help, I will not hesitate to help. And helping even sometimes just means your time, your 1-2 minutes on the phone. You've already helped, and life goes on. So I look at all these situations through my own personal lens. As a woman who was a young woman once, whose youth was taken away, dealing with all these things that I had to deal with for many years, when I had a lot of energy physically. And so that gets me by. And that keeps me grounded on my destiny in the land of the living. I always say, God, why am I alive today? For what? To do what? And I believe even the oxygen I'm breathing even now is not my own. There are people who are paying for it in a hospital somewhere. And so coming from a lens of privilege from God, if you see what I mean, I always say, you know what, to the extent that I can help, I would want to be of help to somebody. To the extent that the office I hold can help somebody's son, somebody's daughter out there, so be it. So we have our website, bettyaderafoundation.org, and our story is right there. Whether you're in Kenya or abroad or wherever, you can donate through that platform. Apart from that, we have email. You can always reach us on info@bettyaderafoundation.org. And the phone number is, I'll say it slowly, 0701112260. So any of those methods we can be reached at. And so we look forward to more engagement as we continue doing what we believe we are called to do, a day at a time, a young person at a time, and a life at a time.